Good morning. This is Morning Reel, a 3 to 4 200-minute or so podcast of films that I review of all kinds of genres from all kinds of nationalities. Whatever pops up in the film world, most likely I will review it. Now, today is May the 4th, and you're breaking my heart. That was my impression of Padme. I am reviewing Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Is a 2005 American epic space opera film written and directed by George Lucas. George Lucas wrote and directed the prequels, first one being The Phantom Menace, and then the second one being Attack of the Clones. This is the sixth film in the franchise, and to be honest, it's the best one from the prequel franchise. That is not to say that this is a great film. It's pretty decent, as Ezon would say about American-made ramen. Produced by Rick McCallum, starring Ewan McGregor. It's crazy how he got the top one in the bill. Natalie Portman, Hayden Christensen, it's a weird name. Ian McDiarmid, Samuel Jackson, Christopher Lee, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, and Frank Oz. Cinematography by David Tattersall, edited by Roger Barton and Ben Burt. Music made by John Williams, the GOAT, just the GOAT. Production companies: Lucasfilm, distributed by 20th Century Fox. In 20 years, Disney will own the whole Star Wars franchise. Who would have thought, right? Anyways, it's not about Disney. Anyways, and it premiered in Cannes. It premiered at Cannes. This film premiered at Cannes. That's crazy. Who would have thought a space adventure film would premiere at a very French prestigious film festival? Now, I haven't seen this film in its entirety over, I don't know, to be honest, been over 5 years for sure. And I enjoy the film every time I watch it. It's not a bad film. It's pretty good. It's one of the most emotional of the prequels. To me, the best one. Like I said earlier, the best one because, for the most part, it's balanced. You know, there's a lot of action sequences, and they cut that with a lot of story building dialogue, especially Anakin. Now, this story is about Anakin becoming Darth Vader. In case anybody didn't know by this time, but yeah, sorry, Anakin becomes Darth Vader, or you get to see how he becomes Darth Vader. And it sucks, man, being consumed by darkness, being consumed by hate and anger, all the things that, why would you want that in your life? But there's a catch. All that anger, all that hate comes strength and comes special powers, such as the powers to save a person. Now, there's a scene in the film where Anakin meets up with Chancellor Palpatine at this concert or something. Like you see like these giant, big old, huge orb circles, and I mean, there's no music playing in the background, right? I mean, at least you can't hear it too well. Talks about the dark side. Talks about how you can save a life even though you're a Sith Lord, and that's kind of crazy. That's a very radical concept, because you're basically cross between good and evil, which, pros and cons of being a Jedi, a master per se. Which way will you go? And throughout the film, I mean, you can kind of see where it's going, how dark it's going to get. It's fun seeing this movie. Like I said, I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and seeing it again, more wise about filmmaking and films and about George Lucas. Now, people shit on the fact that he wrote the prequels. And I gotta say, man, who gives a fuck? This is his baby. This is his baby. He owns it, or owned it at that time. I mean, I'm pretty sure he owns a percentage of shit. But fuck, man, if George Lucas wants to write prequels, he's gonna write the prequels. And you know what's funny? People are still gonna scoop it up. People are still gonna watch the film because, honestly, man, generally speaking, no one can get enough of Star Wars. Obviously, you got all kinds of shit going on right now. Obi-Wan, Mandalorian. You got spin-offs with Rogue One, fucking Han Solo or Solo, whatever the fuck that is. And then you got animated works within the Disney pushed Star Wars universe. It's crazy. It's crazy where it's gone. And who would have thought it would get this crazy, right? Whether it's good or bad, I don't know, man. Like I said, I enjoy this film. There is a lot of flaws in this film. Dialogue, I must say, George Lucas is not the best writer for dialogue, you know. But then again, at the same time, especially at the time, and you know what's crazy? Like looking how it looked. This film came out in 2005. I was 15 years old, and when I saw, and I'm speaking now, seeing how the graphics were back then, the visual effects, it looks pretty good for its time, if I'm not mistaken. It looks pretty fucking good. Everything looks believable for the most part, especially Yoda. The way they put Yoda on screen, not just as a puppet, but like a fully animated character who can just spin in midair, dude, and just use the force. And you get to see him in a wide shot. You don't know how. I'm pretty sure there are Yoda fans out there who've been waiting to see Yoda in a full shot, in a wide shot. Much as like how when the Muppets movie came out, I'm pretty sure there was people out there who were just psyched at the fact of seeing Kermit the Frog riding a bike and actually see him ride a bike. It's crazy. It's something that like it just completes your childhood in a sense, you know? And that's the thing about this film, you know, that the visuals just make you feel that you are watching an adventure. It makes you feel like you were watching the, you know, episode 4 through 6. Very exciting film. As I mentioned, flaws, dialogue. Even some of the acting too was kind of like dull. I mean, not throughout the whole film, but there was just some moments, you know, and this happens to most of the actors in this film. And I have a theory as to why they're not on a real set most of the time. What you're looking at most of the time is a blue screen or a green screen, but most of the time it's blue. You can kind of see it. It's crazy. A fucking multi-million-dollar film, you can still see the blue aura on these, you know, on the actors and shit. It's pretty fucking hilarious in the sense. But hey, man, back in that time, there was no way you could have done blue screen better than that, if I'm tooting my own horn. But you have these actors in a big old space surrounded by blue things, whether they be, you know, Apple boxes that are blue, big old boxes that are blue, a whole screen that's blue. And it's kind of hard to like, I mean, acting is not easy. So I'm pretty sure it was very hard to try to pretend that you're in this chambers or in this world that's surrounded almost completely by volcanic mountains and lava, rivers of lava and magma. I mean, when we see it, everything looks great. Everything looks like it's where it should be. But I'm pretty sure these actors had a hard time just trying to like stay in the belief that you're in the fucking Star Wars land and shit. Honestly, my favorite part of the film is, you know, the third act where Obi-Wan has to tie up the loose ends with Anakin. And at this time, Anakin is already full-blown Darth Vader. There's no going back. He practically chokes out Padme with his telekinetic Darth Sith powers. It's pretty crazy to see that because this was a sweet boy, man. He was a sweet boy. All everybody wanted for him was the best. And he went to the dark side, you know? You got to be careful who you hang around with, I guess, you know? And it's funny because there'll be some people who will tell you, like, hey, man, watch out for this person. This person is not what they seem. And obviously, man, being that it's a Star Wars film, you can kind of tell it's spoon-fed a little bit. You can tell by the voice, too. That kind of kills it for me, too, in some weird way. Like, man, like, just the voice alone, you can tell this is Chancellor Palpatine, who is fucking the stiff lore that the Jedi's been looking for a while. It's the guy. Who would have thought, right? But no matter. Last act, third act, during Mustafa, or I think that's what it's called, Mustafa, and Obi-Wan has to do what he's got to do, not only to save the Senate, but the Republic and just the world, man, the world of Star Wars. And it's a very intense and emotional scene because you got Master versus Padawan, and I mean, you get to see what happens at the end of the third act, at the end of the scene where they fight. Ewan McGregor, if that's his name, Conor McGregor. No, he tells Anakin that he loved him, man, and that he was the chosen one, and that's heartbreaking. That's more heartbreaking than Padme because I don't know, man. It was what like what was up with Lucas trying to write scenes between Padme and Anakin? Like it's just, I mean, you can clearly see there's this connection between these two characters, these two iconic characters, even though they're not played by the iconic actors. I don't know. It's like they could have wrote something better for those interactions. I don't know. What worked. And that's the one thing about the scenes in this film. Obviously, George Lucas loves the wipe, the gradient wipe per se, in almost not every cut, but like transitioning from one scene to another. And it's kind of weird because there's a lot of wipes in this film. Like a whole full scene would last like, I don't know, maybe less than 2 minutes, and it'll just go to the next scene. I felt like in some weird way, he was just kind of rushing it. These scenes were rushed, going from one place to another, one place to another. Do like the fact, however, during certain scenes, he'll transition to a scene that's already ongoing and then coming back to another scene that's ongoing as well. So it's like he's connecting two moments at the same time. And the way he did that, or the way the editor did that, pretty good job, because you got to keep that suspense up. And they did a pretty good job maintaining that. And obviously, surprising us. I hate you. Even that part was kind of crazy. I was like, man, like, there's no going back no more. And you get to see it, and it's sad. But this was what's going to happen. He became Darth Vader eventually. And I don't know, man. Like, I mean, obviously, there's no way Obi-Wan could have killed, well, would have killed Anakin in Darth Vader form. Or rather, not in Darth Vader form, but like, he's already claiming himself as Darth Vader, even though Palpatine just put it on him and shit. Obviously, if he had killed him, there will be, no episodes 4 through 6, and then, 7 to 9 and all that stuff. That wouldn't have happened. But imagine if it did. He would have restored the balance. I'm just wondering, like, why didn't he? I mean, he said, I got to do what I got to do. Obviously, he spared his life because he practically raised that fucking kid. You know what I'm saying? Through the Force, through the Jedi Council. He gave him a chance to become somebody. Anakin fucked it off, And it all stems from his mother's death, and obviously when somebody near and dear passes away, especially in the way that it happened to Anakin's mom, obviously it's going to change you. It's going to change you, but very important how you can move on from certain events like that, through certain tragedies like that. And Yoda was giving him some game on that, which was, it's crazy how kind of deep they went into that type of subject, the subject of life and death, the subject of saving your loved ones or protecting your loved ones. And sometimes you can go crazy trying to protect somebody, like you got to let life ride, and see what happens and just wish for the best. And to that I say, may the force be with you. Thank you for listening to this review. I will be doing more Star Wars films, not the freaking spin-offs. No, I'm sorry. You're going to have to fucking pay for that. I'm not doing that. Sorry. Even if you request it with some change, man. Please, because I'll review it. But I'm not going to be willing to do it. But you know what? I'll probably review A New Hope 5 and 6. And then we'll see where the prequels are at. And then we'll see what the Skywalker trilogy is, 7 to 9. Either way, write and review this episode, this podcast. Please talk about it. Share me your thoughts. Share me your thoughts about this review or about the film. Come on. I know you guys can do it. I really love reading what you people have to say. I enjoy it. It's part of why I want to do this, and I love doing it. And I can thank Roger Ebert for that, because if it wasn't for him reading his shit every week up until the day he died, I wouldn't love film. Simple as that. Follow me on Morning Shot Films, IG, and YouTube. Follow Morning Real on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Spreaker, YouTube. It's all there except Spotify. On to the next one.